Okay, so we're going to talk about the product rule for exponents. And this product rule is only good when you have expressions that have the same base. So I'm going to go back and talk about what that is again. If I have something like x to the fifth, that this guy right here, well, that guy is my base. And this guy right here, well, that is my exponent. So the key here is that if I want to use the product rule, we have to have the same base. So that's critical to what we're doing. I'm going to highlight that. So it's expressions with the same base right here. Okay. So now that we've arrived with that basic rule, we're going to talk about a to the third times a squared. And I'm going to expand this out. I'm going to talk about what it looks like if I expand it, which means I'm going to do the product of a to the third. So this is really a times a times a. Well, that's a to the third. And this a squared is a times a, right? And if I look at what I have here, when I've expanded them out, what I have is 5 of those that are multiplied together. So I have a multiplied together 5 times. So this is really a to the fifth. Okay, so what if I didn't want to expand it out every time? So I could look at the pattern. I could see if there's a rule that's going on. And so I'm looking at this 3 and this 2, and somehow I got to a 5. And it looks like if I add them together, that I would get to what I wanted. So I'm going to write this down over here and say, well, if I write down my a to the 3 plus 2, right, I add my powers, then I have a rule that works that gives me um, the actual power when I multiply them together. Here are some caution. This is something that I see people do. So we're going to write these down and say, super don't do these. So caution. Um, First thing I see is I have something like a to the, I'll do something different than a. I'll do, we'll go d to the fifth times d to the sixth, and it is not. So this is a caution. Don't do this. No, no, no. But they will do this. They'll say, well, I just multiply the powers because there's multiply here. And this is something people do, and it's super not the answer. Don't do that. Another thing people do is they'll have an actual number as the base. So they'll have something like this. They'll go 2 to the, I don't know, third, and then we'll have 2 to the eighth, and they'll do the math on the exponents right? They'll go, oh, I add the powers, and they'll say, well, that's going to be to 11th power, but then they multiply the bases. They'll do 2 times 2, which is really weird. Your base shouldn't change when you do the power rule, so please don't do that. So these are all the cautions. Don't do this. It's not a thing. And the last one that I'll see something like, I don't know, 5 to the 12th, and they will think this is not true. They will think that this is 5 times 12. And we talked about this before. That's not a thing either. So the only way that I can do this is I can use the power rule and keep the base the same. So up here where we use the power rule and we kept the base the same and we added the powers. Or I can expand it out like I did right here, and I can add up how many times I'm multiplying this, right? There, I multiplied a 5 times. Okay, so this is a, word to the wise. Please do not do this. This is a bad idea. Okay, I'm gonna do one more that's the right thing. I'm gonna go, okay, what if I have 2 to the fifth times 2 to the fourth? Well, I'm not doing anything to the 2's. That's my base. And I'm going to add my powers, because that's the rule, and that's going to give me 2 to the 9th. Well, I can check that out and make sure that I'm right. If I expand it out, I'd get 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. That's my 5 of them. And then I'd have 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, and that's my 4 of them. And if I add up how many times I'm multiplying, this is my bad. This is 5 of them. Okay, and 4 of them, so I've got 5 here and 4 here. And if I add them up total, I'm going to say I have 2 to the 9th. I'm multiplying 2 9 times, and so that checks that out. Okay, so that's the answer.